Hey, so today is the first ever International Addison's Awareness Day. So if you click on the link below, you can get some of like the medical information about what Addison's is. What I wanted to share was more the personal way that Addison's affects my life. So Addison's disease is a disease that means that I don't produce cortisol. So cortisol is a hormone that controls basically your stress response. So when you get sick, when you get hurt, emotional stress, any sort of stress, it controls that along with a lot of other hormones and a lot of heart regulation, all sorts of stuff. It's a main driver in your body. So I don't produce enough cortisol to maintain my health. So if you'll see, I always have my pills on my neck. So this is Cortef. This is the drug that I take that literally keeps me alive. Without this, as well as another steroid, I don't make it. And I will, for the rest of my life, have to take this. So Addison's disease is kind of a big deal. It was a process to figure out what was wrong with me. I presented with a lot of really weird symptoms, things like I had a massive tremor and a lot of cognitive deficits, extreme stomach pain. I was a mess when I first got diagnosed, and it's a hard one to diagnose. It has to be diagnosed by like a specialized blood test. And when I got it and I went to the endocrinologist, which is the doctor that deals with Addison's, I remember the moment where I was told that I would be steroid dependent for the rest of my life. And then I was explained what an Addisonian crisis is. So that is if I were to vomit a few times in a row, get diarrhea, get in a car accident, anything where the cortisol that is supposed to be in my body is depleted. So every time you get sick or you hurt yourself or whatever, your body naturally produces more cortisol. Mine can't. It just doesn't make it. So when I get hurt or sick or whatever, I need to take more. If I am to the point where I can't take a pill, I can't keep it down because I'm vomiting, diarrhea, or I'm unconscious, I have to be injected. So that's where this comes in. So that is where, if something were to happen to me, I need to be injected with Dex. And that's a drug that will literally save my life. There's approximately 15-ish minutes from when my body is depleted of cortisol for me to get this before I would slip into a coma and potentially die. So this is pretty life-threatening. A common flu could take me out. Breaking my arm could throw me into shock, which could require more cortisol. And if I'm not conscious or able to take more, that's a really big deal. So I have this with me at all times, my emergency kit. I always have my pills on me to make sure. I also have this lovely tattoo that I got. It's big and I think pretty badass. And it lets people know what's going on. I always joke because I have my medic alert and my road ID, and I'm like, well, if I get in an accident and my watch falls off and my bracelet flies off, that I've got my arm, and then the joke is always if my arm flies off, then, well, I'm dead anyhow. So we're not worried about Addison's at that point in time. So it is a really rare disease. If you were to Google most rare diseases, it's one of the very first ones that comes up, also because it starts with A, but it is a super rare disease. So not a lot of people have it. And it impacts every part of my life. So every time someone comes in for a hug, I think, God, I hope you're not sick. I've been dealing with it since October, and so less than a year, and I haven't thrown up yet. Knock on wood, I don't. So I don't know how that will go, but throwing up means I have to inject myself and go to the hospital because I also need IV fluids. So it really is a big thing, and it's amazing that we have an awareness day now, because even medical personnel don't know it sometimes. So when I go to the hospital, I do a lot of educating, because sometimes nurses just don't understand. One of the big things is we can't sit out in a waiting room, because if something were to happen and we were to slip into a coma and nobody knew that we needed to be injected with high-dose steroids, gonna die. I have no intention of dying. I have 3 kids, 3 dogs, and lots of people that care about me and that I care about. It also has meant that since November, I haven't been able to work. And it's further complicated with me with some connective tissue things, some heart things, some little bit of everything thing. I have 9 specialists. So often people who have Addison's have other things like thyroid issues, which I don't have, things like diabetes. There's a lot of other things that come with it that kind of complicate it. And so it is a bit of a process, and I am getting there. I feel so much better than I used to feel. Things like good friends and taking care of myself and having the time. Like, my employer is incredible, and I have the time where I can still, have money and take care of myself and get things done. And I feel very fortunate. But Addison's is something that is always with me. It is always on the forefront of my mind. When am I going to get sick? Because I'm not going to avoid the flu forever. I have 3 kids, and eventually I'm going back to teaching, and I'm not going to avoid it. And what does that look like? There's a lot of unknowns, and that's scary. But if you know me, and if you're on my Facebook, you know me. I am a super optimistic person, and I just always find the silver lining. And I think that this is something that will make me stronger. So thank you for listening to my video. Much love.